Hey, welcome to the Building Blocks of Bass. My name is Bob DeBoo, your host. Glad to be here again. Happy Monday. We're here today to talk about some bebop scales, doing some bebop on the bass. So just gonna kind of warm up a little bit as people come in, try to like stretch it out a little bit. If you're going back watching this, just give it a little stretch before we do our practice sessions. So last week we talked a bit about the chromatic scale, some exercises, some approach tones to that, and doing a chromatic scale 1 octave. Stuff like that. Just always good stuff to warm up. Yeah, so hey, I see we got some viewers. Welcome, coming in. Welcome to the Building Blocks of Bass. We're going to talk about some bebop stuff today. As I was saying last week, we got into some chromatic scale stuff. The week before that, we hit some triad studies. And today we're going to kind of move that. So I've got my metronome going kind of like always. Today we're going to get into some bebop basics for the bass, which is super hard to say. Bebop basics. My wife was telling me it's not catchy at all, but anyways, we're going to talk about some bebop stuff on the bass. It's always something that I'm not very good at it, so I'm always trying to practice it. And that's the point of today, right? So that's the point of why we do these sessions. So I'm just going to get right into it, okay? A little quick primer on when and why we use the bebop scale. But before we do that, we're going to build off of like what we've already practiced a little bit, which is the triad. So if we look over here, we have an F7 arpeggio. And if this is basic, that's cool. This is the building blocks of bass, right? Well, I want to hit it from the bottom, work our way up, okay? So we're looking at F7 today. That's the only chord we're really going to hit today, and we'll move it around later. But of course, in F7, we have an F, the root, A, the third, C, the fifth, and E flat is the seventh. So we already know our F triad. F, A, C, F, right? So for the F7, for a dominant chord, which is what this is called, F, the root, A, the third, C, the fifth, and then the dominant seventh. Okay, so everybody good with that? Right, okay, so we're building up from there today, okay? Now most of the time when you see an F7 chord or somebody tells you, oh, you should play this scale on an F7, a lot of times you're going to hear about the Mixolydian scale. It all fits. Like if I played the chord, if I played an F7 chord on the piano or the guitar, yeah, all that's going to fit. It becomes an issue though when we talk about lining everything up rhythmically. And if we just look really quick, the F Mixolydian scale, just play it along with me. I'm writing it descending. This week I'm only doing stuff descending for the most part. So if we play that along, we have like, I'll throw on my metronome here. And it's at 70. Hopefully you can hear that well enough. So let's just play this along twice through in case this is something new for you, okay? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So as we're doing this, notice underneath the S and the W's that I have. Now maybe you know what I'm referring to already, but let me just say, the S stands for strong beat, the W stands for weak beat. So typically beats 1, like we want a lot of things to resolve or have a really good control over hitting beat 1. So beat 1 is huge. Beat 3 is huge. Those are what we refer to as strong beats. Okay, so now if you look at this scale, you can tell really quickly that we get off rhythmically of strong, weak, really quick because we can see these chord tones, which is important. So we're trying to hit chord tones. The idea of hitting strong beats is to hit chord tones on these strong beats, okay? And so immediately by putting in this E flat underneath the F, we're getting off rhythmically. So if we were walking, like if we were playing an F blues maybe, or just like vamping an F7 for a while, and if we were playing this scale, which we know fits, well, we just implied that we went to the 4 chord, and maybe we didn't mean to. Okay, so hopefully everybody's good with me on that, right? So we've got our strong beat, weak beat, strong beat, weak beat, strong beat, weak beat. I've got the metronome clicking on 2 and 4. It's at 70, by the way, but I've got it clicking on 2 and 4. So every time it's clicking, it should be a weak beat. So we're trying to hit strong, 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 strong. And the point is strong, 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 strong. For the most part, any of this is all just, this is all just me talking. Anything can be flipped around and you can play anything, basically. So let's look really quick. This is how to fix that rhythmically. Okay? This is by adding in this major seventh, which is just a passing tone to the seventh. Now everything lines up rhythmically. Play this with me, okay? So this is 2 and 4 on the metronome, which is 70. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you'll notice now everything is lining up rhythmically. This could be a bass line in itself and be really, really strong. Now with the bebop scale, it's interesting to note that you can, as long as you keep the scale going, you can change the direction of it. So if you were playing along with me, we disconnected because I started playing different notes. As long as you keep playing this scale without any interval jumps in it, you'll always be lined up rhythmically with strong beats, weak beats. And you can see here, chord tone on the strong beat, chord tone on the strong beat, chord tone on the strong beat, etc., all the way through. So as long as I'm doing as long as you're playing scale-wise, everything's going to line up. Does that make sense? Okay, so please ask any questions if you have stuff too. I see we have some comments, but I'm just going to get into practicing this stuff and definitely talk about the comments at the end. So bear with me. I will answer any questions that you have. You can always go to our Facebook group, which is the Building Blocks of Bass Facebook group. I always put up a bunch of information about what we're working on, and I'll put up a PDF of everything that we have here, all of the musical examples, okay? Also, I need to shout out too really quick. This week, it's big news. Big news, on the 28th, Christian McBride's new Your Sound is Your Signature course is dropping. That's the 28th. It's coming out really, really soon. So go to the Open Studio website. You can see all the information down below. Really excited about this course. We've all been working really hard on it. It looks great. Christian talks about some amazing stuff, obviously. And it's so cool for bass players because Mr. Carl Allen on drums joins Christian for some great conversation. Every bass player needs to check this out. It's super good. I love it. So Your Sound is Your Signature. Check it out really quick. So I just took that away. So here we are. We're looking now. This is the bebop scale. This is F dominant bebop, bebop dominant F. I don't know what you call it. This is our bebop scale lined up in eighth notes now. Okay. So let's do the same thing. And we're going to start on the root, and we're just going down to the root and then back up. Let's do this like 3 times through just to get this under our fingers. So we're going to play this as eighth notes, okay? I'm going to try to get I usually play a little bit lower, but that's going to go off the screen. So I'm going to keep my plucking fingers right here so we can all be on the same track. Okay, ready? Oh, let me say, the fingerings that I have below are just suggestions, okay? If you have any other ideas for fingerings, please use them. These are just what I have written down for today, okay? All right. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's keep repeating it. So, can you feel how everything lines up? Strong, 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 strong. Right. Everything is strong on all the downbeats. 1, 2, 3, 4. Every downbeat is strong, and all of our eighth notes have non-chord tones. So again, our chord tones, F, E flat, C, A, and then it recycles, it's just going up. So that's how the bebop scale is important rhythmically and to keep us, like everything sounding on strong beats. Let's play this again. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, go. Couple more times. right, let's end it there. Awesome. Okay, so the next thing I want to practice is starting this scale on the third. Okay, so instead of starting on the root, we're starting on the third, and we're still going to be lined up with strong beats, and our weak beats are going to be all lined up. So again, if we played this scale without any skips, well, that was a skip. That was an arpeggio at the end. Typically, you can do that from the third, the fifth, or the seventh. We can get into that further on, but today we're just hitting the bebops of the bebop, the basics of the bebop scale. Sorry, I'll slow down here. So we're gonna hit this. We're gonna hit this scale now, starting from the third. Okay, you see everything is on a strong beat, just like we planned. But now we're starting on the third. Okay, again, these fingerings are just suggestions, but I think they work pretty well for what we're doing. Okay, let's play it. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, go. So now we're ending down there on the third, right? So just from third to third. Cool, that makes sense. It all lines up, right? You could, of course, practice this. You could flip this around. You could keep going higher. There's so much you can do with this. We're just trying to constrict what we're practicing today, right? Of course, speed is another issue. You can do this stuff with bass lines, too. Everything's going to line up. Again, if I was to do a F7 for a minute, so 1, 2, 3, 4. All that lined up rhythmically with strong beats and weak beats. Again, our strong beats are beats 1 and 3, weak beats are 2 and 4, and everything is subjective. That can always be flipped around given whatever's happening musically in the moment, okay? All right, so now we're looking at the same thing. This is the bebop scale. This is F7 bebop scale, which is a major scale with a flatted 7th. Just another way to think of this, right? So you could call it Mixolydian with a major 7. You could just think about it as an F major 7, but also with a flatted 7th in it. However you want to do it. We're just adding in that extra chromatic note right there. And there's more chromatic notes, of course, you can add into all of these scales. This is just the basic bebop scale, right? So let's do the same thing now from the 5th. So you'll notice again, this is chord tone, chord tone, chord tone, chord tone, etc. Everything lines up on downbeats, which is where we want our weight to go, right? That's a strong beat. So everything's going to feel rhythmically balanced if we do it that way. So let's play from the 5th. You ready? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, go. We're just going down to the 5th. It starts in here where I get, like you could really start to alter whichever fingering patterns make the most sense to you. You may have noticed too, and if you go back and watch again, I'm not doing these fingerings every time. I like to do this sometimes, go 4, 4, 2, which is good too, because if we do like a little flash forward really quick, if we do any like approach tones to these approaches to these chord tones, the fingering pattern is going to alter a little bit. So you need to be flexible with your fingering patterns, basically. Have a good one in mind, for sure, and especially when it comes to speed, but, this one works okay. Cool. And just a really quick thing, too, you can alter these scales in different ways. I won't go into that, actually, right now. Let's move up. So we've hit the root. We've hit the 3rd, we've hit the 5th. Now let's hit the 7th, okay? Just to be thorough. All right. So you see, now I've got my fingering pattern 4, 2, 4, 2, 4, 1, 2, open. And I'm going down to the 7th, right? So 4, 2, 4, 1, 2. again, this could, you know, depending on what's coming before it and after it and what else you're going to be doing to this scale, you could alter this fingering pattern greatly. So just be flexible with that. All right, let's try this. This is the F7 bebop, the F dominant bebop scale from the 7th down to the 7th, okay? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, go. Just keep going. Okay, cool. So let's try something now. Let's just recap really quick. Let's do from the root, and then the 3rd, and then the 5th, and then the 7th. Okay? So let's start at the root. We'll go back, we'll go down, and then back up, and then I'll call out starting on the 3rd. Same with the 5th, same with the 7th. You ready? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, go. Now the 3rd. 1, 2, 3, go. Down to the 3rd. Now the 5th, go. 1, 2, 3, go. 7th. 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, does that make sense? And then you're back to the F. Same thing. I totally played that wrong. 7. Right? So of course we want to do these in the upper register, but this is the building blocks of bass, right? We want to get them in the lower, the meat and potatoes area of the bass. Get that under our fingers really well, and in our ears especially too. So when we get up higher, we need to think about intonation. Sound is, it's a whole nother thing. So let's move on to something that we can expand our scales by adding in enclosures. Basically, when we're thinking about these lines, like bebop lines, we're not always just thinking about the scale itself. You also want to think about enclosures, pivoting, adding in other chromatic notes, doing arpeggios like you can do if you're going down, let's say from the 7th. What I did is I was going up the major 7th arpeggio from the 7th, E flat, G, B flat, D, which is kind of like outlining a different, it's a long conversation, but you can play a major 7th chord from the 3rd. You could also play what am I thinking of? Diminished arpeggios from any of the chord tones, like and it's gonna line up like you're thinking dom and dom. Anyways, I digress. But let's talk about enclosures right now. Okay, so this is maybe not news to everybody, you know what I mean, but an enclosure is like we're trying to get, again, to strong beats. See where we've got our root positioned? It's on beat 1. The 3rd is on beat 3, strong beat. The 5th on beat 1, 7th on beat 3, etc., etc. Okay, so all that lines up rhythmically. If we were playing with the drummer, it would feel okay, you know, like it's swinging the way that it is. If we were to move that around, shift it by a beat, it would feel a little funkier. Again, it's all subjective, but that's what I think. So let's look at this. An enclosure, this enclosure that I'm talking about, this is, step 1 enclosure. We're adding in a half step below each chord tone. So again, chord tones here are F, A, C, and E flat. So what's a half step below F? Right. What's a half step below A? A flat to A. What's a half step below C? B to C. Do the same thing to the 7th now. What is it? D, E flat. Right? Okay. So now you notice that that's not what I have written here. I also have a scale step above. So a chromatic note from below and a scale step from above. Scale above, chromatic below. Right? It's written right there. So we're doing scale step above. What's the scale step above F? G. So G, F. What's the scale step above A? In F7, it's B flat. So B flat, A, right? Do the same thing to the fifth. What is it? Right, D, C. Same thing to the E flat. Now I'm not thinking E natural for this one right now. You could, it's subjective, right? But I'm thinking F to E flat for this scale, okay? So we put that together, and what do we get? We get a scale above, chromatic below. Whew, I need a finger dressing on this. Fingerboard dressing. So you see how it leads, like just using your ear. What's the next note gotta be? It has to be an A, right? The power of chromatics, like we talked about that last week. Right? So let's play it in time. Just get this under our fingers, okay? Again, I've got this set at 70. This is 2 and 4, so it's 140, right? Or, my apologies, I've got it set at 60. This whole time it's been at 60, so we're at 120. You'd think I would feel that. Anyways, let's try playing this, okay? We'll play it through a few times. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Keep going. So if you took away those enclosures, it would be this. Right? That's the meat. That's what's up right there. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Does that make sense? Okay, really quickly, let's flip that. Don't think too hard about this. We're just alternating what we're doing first. So we're playing a half. Now we're moving it a chromatic step below and then a scale step above. We're still getting to the root, the third, the fifth, and the seventh, but now we've flipped it. So we're doing half step below, scale step above, and then our goal, our target, which is going to land on a strong beat. Remember, that's really important. So just check out the first one. It's got to go there. Well, it doesn't have to go there, but that's where it makes the sense to. Makes the most sense to. Let's do it to the third. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. So this is our chromatic work that we did last week, right? This position, that's really where this is like going to start coming in handy too. And we've got more chromaticism that we're going to build in. Let's do it to the fifth. So again, we're doing chromatic below, scale above to our goal to the fifth. Again. How about the seventh now? Let's do them all. I didn't count you in. Sorry. Let's count in. So 1, 2, 3. Just loop that for a minute. Cool? Does that make sense? Same thing that we were doing with Enclosure 1, I just called it Enclosure 2. So now I'm going to put something up that's going to kind of like block up the screen a little bit, but I thought it was important just to show. So now we're going to do Enclosure 1 into our bebop scale. So we're using a concept like I was kind of talking about earlier. Not just playing the scale, but utilizing things at the beginning of the scale, in the middle of the scale, or whatever. In building our lines, we want to use a few different tactics. One of the tactics is using a scale. Another tactic is using an enclosure. Another tactic is using other chromatics or pivoting. using arpeggios, using rests, using space, right? And there's a lot more that we can get into with that. So just look here, and if you're just joining us too, please keep commenting. I see that we have comments. Thank you for joining us. If you're just joining us, this is the building blocks of bass. We're talking about bebop basics today. Bebop basics for the bass with Bob. Yeah, it's catchy, right? Anyways, I'm Bob DeBoo. So thanks for joining me. Please leave comments. I'll chat about all that stuff like after we're done practicing. So now we're using the enclosures into the scale. Okay, and I'm just going down the scale. I'm not going back up just for the sake of this exercise. So all that makes sense. We're doing the enclosure 1, so that's the scale step above into the chromatic below, and then we're doing the scale. So we just look at that first one. Right, enclosure 1. And of course you should be practicing this in every key, right? So same idea to the third. To the fifth, to the seventh. Make sense? So like for instance at the end of that, if you did the seventh, you could build that line by putting in that arpeggio from the seventh. Something like that. You know, there's just too many options really to talk about here. Again, we're doing above, I'm kind of reminding myself, scale above, chromatic below, enclosure 1, right? So let's throw on our metronome and shed this for a little bit, okay? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Now to the third. To the fifth. Seventh. How about to the fifth? The third. To the root again. That make sense? Awesome, awesome. So let's go immediately and add in our other enclosure, which is just flipping that enclosure the direction. So instead of going high-low to the middle, now we're going low-high. Right, that one. And you can change any of the directions, like if you wanted to go up the scale, it'd still be lined up rhythmically, right? Strong beats, weak beats, the whole idea. So I'll leave this up here. Let's just play this along together. I will have a PDF or whatever kind of visual on the Facebook group, the Building Blocks of Bass Facebook group. So go check that out. Join the group if you're interested. We're trying to build a community there. Please also, please know that the Your Sound is Your Signature course is dropping this week on Friday, the 28th. It's Christian McBride's new course, super incredible. I mean, there's just too much good information in it. And I'm also, I've included some guided practice sessions in that too. So there's a bunch of guided practice sessions like based around what Christian talks about in his course. We get into some really detailed like right hand technique, some really detailed left hand technique, learning tunes, like how to learn tunes using numerical progressions and just different concepts. And then also learning some really cool like minor pentatonic shapes where we're fitting minor pentatonics over chords and just some interesting stuff. So highly recommend checking all of that out. But back to this. This is our enclosure 2 into the bebop scale. Let's shed it. Let's work on this and then I'll jump into the comment section, okay? So you can't really see my right hand at all. You can't really see me, I guess, but you can check all this out later too, okay? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 2, 3. Now to the fifth. Right? Let's do it again, okay? So I've got it written as a loop, and we'll go back to the root. So let's just loop this through a few times, okay? Maybe we'll up the tempo after that. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Good. Good. Oh, I'm sure you kept on. I messed up. 1, 2, 3. Third. Fifth. Seventh. Cool. So let's just bump the tempo up a little bit. So I've got this at 60. See if we can set it at, well, this metronome is one of the old school jobs. Right, it's all busted up too. The front's about to fall off. But we love her. At 70, let's put it at 69. So it's close to 140, right? I know, 138, something like that, right? All right, so let's try this. I'm gonna take this off too, so you can kind of, so I don't feel all covered up. Yeah, in the enclosure 2, this is below and above. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. To the third. Fifth. Seventh. Let's go to the fifth. Third. Root. Cool. Excellent. So keep bumping that up. Of course, do that in some different keys. We could do that, but I don't. You practice that, practice that later. Practice that when we get out of here. So I wanted to jump into the comment section real quick and just say, what's up to folks? Cool. Music is my pleasure. What's up? We have somebody out in France. Thanks for joining us. Thanks so much. Very cool. Hey, Nick, you're back. Good to see you again. Stopping by again. Love your videos. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. Very cool. Papa DeBoo is chiming in again. What's up, Dad? Hope you got your bass out for that one. I don't know if I can post this. I don't know, that's a little racy language there. But no, I'm just kidding. Very cool, man. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, here's a good one. What to play over minor 7 flat 5 chords. Yeah, all right. So, okay, so if we're thinking F7, you could play an F7 basically if you had an A half diminished chord, which that's a minor 7 flat 5. If you think about the chord, like an A minor 7 flat 5 or an A half diminished, A, C, E flat, G, that's, that kind of like, that's got everything in there. If you think about it being, really if we're playing F7, that's what, B flat major. You could think that, what's that mode called, the last mode? Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian, it's the Locrian mode. People play that a lot over, and I just don't think of that, but you can do it that way. So, long story short, Hank, what to play over minor 7, flat 5. If you have, like, for instance, an A half diminished, you could play this F7. All of this stuff should line up and feel pretty good. Now you might say that F is like a little suspect, but really that's the sound. So, cool, good question, thank you. Cool. Hey, nice shirt. Hot Techer, yeah, one of my favorite groups from a long time ago. Got this at one of those shows, I think in Chicago. So thanks so much, man. Hey, Raphael, you're back. Greetings from Brazil. Thanks so much, man. I still have so much music to listen to that you sent me. Yes, please, want more bass lessons? A new Christian McBride course is coming out very soon. Your sound is your signature. Yep, click that link. It's super, super good stuff. Justin, thanks so much. Appreciate that. Selmer Paris. Whoa, cool. All right, thanks, Justin. Let's see what we got. This has really clarified enclosures for me. Thank you. Oh, good. Excellent. Glad to hear that. There's a lot more that can happen with enclosures, of course, like adding in more chromaticism, and just a little extra thing, like based around what we were doing today. You know how we did the above and below to to F, the above G to E to F. Well, you also have an F sharp in there that's in play, right? So you could do, which is really common. That's a really big time enclosure. You would do that to the A like this, right? Stuff like that, you know what I mean? So Cool. So hopefully that gives you a little bit more to work with too with some enclosures. So thanks, Michael. Appreciate that. Could you demonstrate practicing this through changes, especially with bebop tunes that have multiple chords per measure? Not today, just because of our time limits. They asked me to cut this down just a little bit, Nick, but we can definitely get into that another time for sure, okay? Try practicing this over the blues though. Just hit a blues form. So like an F blues, get you right in the door that way, okay? But I appreciate that question, and you know, send me a Facebook message or something like that if you want to talk more about that, okay? So everybody too, check out the Facebook group. We can get into a lot more stuff from there. I just think I skipped somebody. Clear concept and great lessons. Thank you. Even thinking scale above, chromatic below, not such easy on the spot. Yeah, it's true. And it's a, you know, like after you practice this stuff a little bit more, just that your ear kind of pushes you in those certain directions. And yeah, just like anything else, as you're practicing this stuff, you're training your ears. That's a super important thing to do, to be able to hear that, because we want to build these lines, not just from, you know, practicing licks, like, you know, I mean, of course you can, of course, but you want the concept of the line, like how that's put together, and your ear really tells you as you're in the moment doing that. So, cool. Hi from Canada. What's up? Rowdy Roddy. Nice. Hey, this is my buddy. This is my pal. What's up, Zach? If you're still there, good to see you. Man, I miss you. This is Zach is a great music fan in St. Louis. Goes out to all the shows. Miss you, Zach. Thanks for being here, man. How to practice skips would be interesting. Cool. Noted. I'll put that in perhaps for the next one, okay? Or the next time we talk about some bebop stuff. There's a great book too, if you're still with us, Selmer Paris. There's a great book. David Baker has a great series out on bebop scales and concepts like that, like this. Of course, Barry Harris has a great method. You can find a lot of information from Barry Harris. It's a great resource. So David Baker's instructional, you know, his books and things like that. And then Barry Harris as well. So, could you use this F bebop scale over the first 4 bars of rhythm changes in B flat? I think you could. It's a different, to me, Michael, it's a different kind of concept. I would think more if we were in a B flat rhythm changes, thinking like a bar at a time. I would probably think the first bar being B flat major bebop maybe, which is a different scale. There's a lot of things that line up together, but it's more in the maybe the how you call it, the transitory chords, like the chords at the end of a cadence leading into the top, or every other bar, kind of like what we talked about with the strong and weak beats. There's also harmony that's grounded and some harmony that's not so grounded. Hey Chris, can you use the same strategy with other chord types? That is, put another note in there. Hey, that's a good one. Yes, absolutely, Chris. You totally can. And it's, again, just using your ears. But if we built really quickly, if we built along the same lines using this F7, just because that's our bass line, B-A-S-E-L-I-N-E bass line, we have this going on, right? If we started from the 9th, if we started from G, that would leave us on a weak note. So what we would do is take out, actually, so the opposite of what you're talking about right now, but taking out the, unless we did something more rhythmically with it, or adding in more chromatic. So what I did there is from the 9th, kind of a double chromatic whole step, G, F, F sharp, E, and then the scale. It's one quick way to think about that. But yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. Is there an 8-note scale you can play over a minor 7th? So this is a really deep one, actually. So we're talking about F7, right? That's a 5 chord. What would be the 2 chord of that? Okay, well, first, what's the 1 chord? F7 is the dominant chord. It's a 5 chord in this case. So B flat would be the 1 right? So, you know, that's kind of like all this comes together in a certain way. What's the 2 chord? It's C minor. So you could play this same scale over the C minor. So if you're playing a 2-5, for instance, where it's C minor 7 to F7, you could play this the whole time and it works just fine. You know, like. That, I mean, that all fits. All of that fits rhythmically too. If I'm just thinking F7, but the chords are happening here. Does that make sense? So yeah, the minor 7th, you could think of the dominant bebop scale from the 4th, and that'll get you, I think, where you're asking. Cool. So hopefully that helped, Chris. Hey, this is my buddy. This is my pal. This is Chano Cruz, great bass player. What's up, Chano? Good to see you. Hope you got your bass in your hands. Cool. All right, so I think that's all the comments. Please feel free to you know, comment later. I'll go back and check this stuff out. Check out our Facebook group, The Building Blocks of Bass. For sure, just head on over, man, do it right now. Click the link below and go check out some of the preview stuff for Christian McBride's great new course coming out, Your Sound is Your Signature. And can't endorse that enough. Some really great information in there. And of course, master bass player, you know, just very deep. So thanks so much, everybody, for tuning in. I'm going to sign off now. So thank you so much, Andrew, helping me out with everything. And we'll see you next week. Come join us next Monday, okay? Bye.